Good morning, Cal Young. This will be day 2 of the ALICE training. If you were absent on day 1 of the emergency and/or ALICE training, I'd like for the people in your advisory to talk through what were the major learnings yesterday. And if you don't recall, because yesterday was 24 hours ago, we talked a little bit about emergency procedures that schools have in general. And we also talked about a lockout. So if you could pause the video, teachers, and ask your class to review those learnings for about 1 minute. All right, so back to today's lesson. Again, this is day 2. I am going to do the same thing I did yesterday and share the screen, and hopefully it works. Sometimes it takes me a minute, but we're going to talk today about lockdowns and start that conversation. You talked a little bit yesterday about the difference between the words lock out and lock down, and lockout implying something's happening off campus that we want to heighten our security for, and lockdown implying that there's a higher level of emergency and it's either really close to campus or on our campus. So we'll talk more about that in just a minute. But before we do, I would like to say it's natural for people to go to a very extreme example of threat, an extreme example that they may have heard about in the media or local news or just what they remember. And that's not always the case. And actually, it very rarely is the case that some of these procedures would happen in the most extreme dangerous example. So for today, we're going to, when we're thinking about a lockdown procedure, we're going to think about a person coming onto our campus who is tackling adults, assaulting adults, and that's what they're doing. And we're put into a situation, there's that threatening person on our campus trying to hurt people. And we're going to respond to that as a school community to keep people safe. So you should see a slide that says Wednesday, and hopefully it will switch to one that says lockdown. So again, there's this dangerous person on our campus. A lockdown occurs when imminent danger exists inside or outside the building that requires immediate lockdown of all classrooms and office doors and occupied rooms. Now, what's changed about lockdown procedures over the last 10 years is that it used to be a very prescribed response, meaning lockdown, everyone does the same thing. And while that's helpful for us to know what to do, it also may put us in a situation where we're doing something that actually doesn't help us be safe. So what's changed is the procedures have become a little more fluid, depending on the circumstance, where you are in the building, what is happening, and what information we can get to you. So that is actually called ALICE. Part of our lockdown protocol is called ALICE, and it stands for being alert, paying close attention to what is happening, the best that you can think through what is going to help you be in a safe space. Lockdown, that might be the most safe thing to do, is to lock up your room and hide. That might be. Inform. We're going to try to give you as much information as possible, or whoever is in the office that can give that information will do the best they can to inform people about where the threat exists and what might be a good maneuver for you. Counter. Counter means do something against. As a last resort, it may be that this person who's assaulting staff may try to get into your room. Well, okay, well, what would be a good maneuver for you at that point? and then evacuate. That might be the best thing that you can do, especially on the first floor. In our building, there are doors to the outside. If it's the best, safest thing for you to leave that door, go out that door, then that's what you should do. So rather than barricade in your room when you can leave. So talking through that a little bit more, in a lockdown, there are 3 important things to remember. Listen to the supervising adult if that information is coming from the office, or if that information is coming from your classroom teacher or any other staff member that has knowledge or has practiced these situations before. Follow the directions and remain as calm as possible. Why would these 3 things be important during a lockdown? Go ahead and pause, teachers, and take some responses for 2 minutes. Okay. In case of a lockdown, when there is an intruder, where are the safe places in your classroom? If the best thing to do was to stay in your classroom, what could you do to make it more safe? Listen to the supervising adult, following directions, and remaining as calm as possible. So talk for about a minute about what you could do in your classroom that would create some safety for everyone there. All right, now we're on the next slide. There are 3 different types of actions that could be discussed or instructed in a lockdown situation. One of them is to barricade. Now, first, before I go any further, we are not going to do these things in the classroom today. I want you to know what they are and think about them, but there is nothing on this list that we are going to do today. So when you see the word counter, don't counter. When you see the word barricade and think through what you could do to make that happen, don't actually do it. But what are the meanings of these words? Go ahead and process that for a moment in your classroom. Teachers, pause. All right, today we're only going to get through a barricade, and I want you to put some thought in your classroom about that. This would be if you felt as a group that the best thing that you could do would be to barricade in your space. Well, something to know is if there was a dangerous person on our campus, it is very likely that the police would be in our building in about 5 minutes from the moment that we alerted the police to the time they came through the door. It could even be faster than 5 minutes. That's how quickly they can get here and get in. So what could you do in those moments to create safety in your space from this person, this intruder who's trying to assault people? Well, obviously locking the door, covering the door window, closing blinds, turning off lights, remaining silent. The reason it says ignoring alarms and bells is because if a dangerous person wanted to get at more people, they could certainly pull the fire alarm and try to get people to respond to that by leaving. In a case of a lockdown, please only listen to the trusted adult that's trying to give you information. Don't respond to a fire alarm in this case, or bells. Obviously, you're not switching classes in a case like this. Make room appear unoccupied. Remember, with only a couple of minutes, if someone's trying to hurt people, they will go to the place that's the easiest for them to get at people. And if it looks like it's a room that's empty and it's hard for them to get in, they're going to move on. So move to a place, if you can, where it's unoccupied. Move away from doors and windows. Assess the situation and continue to listen for announcements. In addition, furniture could be moved to make it even more challenging to get into the space. I want you to think through, and this is our last slide of today, what are some things that you could use in the space that you're in right now to barricade the space so that it would be harder for an intruder to get in? Think through that. Don't do it. Think through it so that if you needed to have that thought process in the future, you could look for similar things to do. Again, I'm going to leave that question with you to talk about as a class. And tomorrow, we will talk about countering as a last resort, and then we will do an evacuation. Again, you're thinking about barricading, so process as a class what you might do in your space. Thank you again. Have a great day.